Welcome again to Clearview Township's Committee of Adjustment for the month of July 2024. I'd like to begin our meeting by recognizing the First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples of Canada as traditional stewards and caretakers of the land. We acknowledge that Clearview Township is located within the boundaries of Treaty 18, the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, Teonatani, Wendat, and is the home of many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples as part of an intricate nationhood that reaches across Turtle Island. At this time of truth and reconciliation, we welcome them to the opportunity to work together towards new understandings and new relationships and ask for guidance in all we do. Screaming right along, is there any issues with the minutes, last month's minutes of our previous meeting? Seeing none, can I get a motion to accept last month's meeting minutes? All in favor? Carried. Is there any pecuniary interest of anyone sitting on the board today for the two files that are before us? None. Perfect. The Committee of Adjustment today will consider two minor variance applications scheduled under public hearings. The Planning Act requires that a public hearing be held before the Committee of Adjustment decides whether or not to pass a minor variance. The public hearing serves two purposes. First, to present the Committee of Adjustment and the public the details and background of the application, and second, to receive comments from the public and agencies before a decision is made. For each application, the Secretary Treasurer will summarize the proposal and correspondence on file. Planning Division staff, to my right, your left, will provide any other information that is relevant to the application. From there, the applicant will be provided the opportunity to make a presentation, followed by questions from the public, either in favor or against the proposal. The application will then be considered by the committee. Over to you, Madam Secretary.
Thank you, Chair. Okay, I'll try to speak loud. Thank you, Chair. Notice of these consent and variance applications were posted on the subject properties on or before June 25th, 2024, being at least 14 days prior to the hearing. Notice of these applications were also sent by mail to the assessed owners within 60 meters of the subject properties. Notice was also circulated for the applications to those persons, departments, and agencies likely to have an interest in the applications as legislated. Included with each notice was a legal description of the subject property and a description of the purpose of the proposed consent or variance. The circulations were provided in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act, RSO 1990, Chapter P13. Variance file 24A13 concerns lands municipally known as 273 Quebec Street and legally described as Plan 103, Part Lot 12 North, being Parts 4 and 20 on Registered Plan 51R 41662. The purpose of the application is to request the approval of the Committee of Adjustment for relief from the interior side yard setback for a deck from 0.75 meters to 0 meters. The total variance being requested is 0.75 meters. The effect of the application is to allow for a building permit for the existing deck on the subject lands. Circulation of the application was mailed on June 25th, 2024 to the applicant, appropriate agencies, and property owners within 60 meters. Comments were received from the Township of Clearview Public Works Department and from the Township of Clearview Building Department, having no concern or objection to the application. The staff recommendation before us is that the Committee of Adjustment of the Township of Clearview hereby approves minor variance 24A13 pertaining to lands at 273 Quebec Street on the basis that it meets the 4 tests in accordance with the Planning Act.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Planning staff, do you have anything to add to the file that we do not already have before us at this time?
Thank you, Chairman. No, I do not. I'm here for questions.
All right. Is there a representative from this file? The podium is yours, sir. Do you wish to add anything that we don't already have? No? All right. Do we have any questions from the committee members? Yes, sir.
Yeah, Rosalind, I'll direct this through the chair to you. Saying it's minor in nature, but then if the neighbor wanted to do the same thing, they can't. You're saying that they would need to stay back their 0.75 meters. So if we allow this, how come we wouldn't just say, okay, the neighbor can butt right up to this without going through all the same process, I guess, is what I'm asking.
Yes, thank you for the question. The short answer is because the bylaw actually is a law. And so unless that applicant would want to apply for the same variation, they as of right can just build their deck and a privacy wall 0.75 by just getting a building permit. So the idea is that in this case, the owner has asked for a variation in that requirement. And so planning staff have reviewed it and deemed it that it is something that probably isn't, we've recommended that it is probably in keeping with the intents of the bylaw. If the neighbor wanted to do the same thing, they could come with an application as well.
So in this case, then there was no building permit prior to construction of this deck?
In this case, there was no building permit, and therefore when I think the inspectors went out, they noticed that that had occurred, and then I think retroactively the owner did come and get a building permit, and when it was reviewed through the building permit process, it was noted that that setback had been missed.
Does that
So
satisfy your question?
Well, I don't, in my opinion, I'm thinking a condition should be if the neighbor wants to apply and whatnot, that this developer, this person should have to pay all the fees required of the neighbor. Seeing as the law or, procedure wasn't followed correctly. But I know that's getting maybe technical, but go ahead.
The only challenge with that is that you're imposing a condition on someone that doesn't have a say right now, and really they are offered the same opportunities that anyone is in the township, right? So they can come and apply and ask for the same forgiveness. In this case, this is a matter of trying to complete a building permit process that triggered it. So, and at this point, we don't know if the neighbor, they may want to be further set back from this wall, right? So giving them that ability, because there's advantages and disadvantages to being that close, right? As a neighbor, so. And I'm not sure how we impose conditions on another piece of land, because this is actually based on this property at this time. Yeah.
I have a question for you, Rosalind, though. I read that you would recommend this as an approval. In my time here, we have never gone down to a 0 setback. Is this setting a precedent for the future? I understand it's in hindsight, it's after the fact, but does this have any precedent setting commitments?
Sorry, I think I cut you off when I turned on my mic. Anyways, thanks for that question. And keeping in mind that we don't set precedents, every application and every request is considered on its own merits. And if I might, I'll just remind the committee, it may have been a bit of confusion with the owner at the time, because this is a semi-detached building and the wall is on a 0 property line. And in all fairness to the property owner, who they may have thought that the deck was an extension of the building. But the way that we interpret the bylaw is it is not. It is a separate structure and it requires its own building permit. So in all fairness, I'm taking liberties to try to understand why this occurred. But I would think in all fairness, that's likely what happened. I mean, bylaws are complicated. Right? And so they probably just thought the easiest path was to just follow along. The houses were all together. There was no separation. And in all fairness, that's likely what's happened here. And so, and as I'd mentioned, we haven't received any comments from the public, like from the direct neighbor. I don't know if they're here today, but, are you here today? Oh, perfect. So, right. So so again, we hadn't heard from the neighbors with any concerns. So that was why we kind of looked at this as a way like, well, it is maybe in this case warranted and in our opinions met the four tests. So
All right, thank you for that. To the neighbors. Oh, was there any more questions from, yes, Gord?
Through the chair, more comment. I am a builder. A lot of these buildings, if it was included in the build from the builder, then it would be inspected. However, and they're probably under 2 feet, so you don't require a building permit. On that type of home, to me, a zero setback is fine because you're basically dividing those two builds in half, right? So you don't need a 0.75 meter setback. So it is minor in nature, right? Because it's a division of two houses that are joined. So
Alright.
I think in this case, it is minor in nature. And I think that they probably should all be built that way, honestly, not with a setback of that amount anyway. So that'd be my observation as a builder.
All right. Does the neighbor wish to say anything? No? All right. All righty then. Is there a motion to accept the recommendation before the committee? Gord? All in favor? Carried. There's a 20-day appeal period apparently. But Madam Secretary here, Danielle will sort you out before the end of that period. All right. You have a great day.
You can leave if you want.
Yep.
Thanks.
Madam Secretary, minor variance file 24-A14.
Thank you, Chair. Minor variance file 24A14 concerns lands municipally known as 5850 concession 7 Sunnydale, and legally described as west part of lot 3 on concession 7 being part 1 on registered plan 51R 27576. The purpose of the application is to request the approval of the Committee of Adjustment for a reduction in the minimum distance separation, MDS2 setback requirement of 155.5 meters to 149 meters for a total variance of approximately 6.5 meters. The effect of the application is to permit the construction of one additional broiler chicken barn on the subject lands. Circulation of the application was mailed on June 25th, 2024 to the applicant, appropriate agencies, and property owners within 60 meters. Comments were received from the Township of Clearview Public Works Department and from the Township of Clearview Building Department, having no concern or objection to the application. Comments were also received from the Nottawasaga Valley Conservation Authority, NVCA, after the agenda package was published. In summary, NVCA staff reviewed the application as per their delegated responsibility from the province to represent provincial interests regarding natural heritage hazards identified in Section 3.1 of the provincial policy statement, and as a regulatory authority under Ontario Regulation 4124, and they have no concerns or objections. The staff recommendation before us is that the Committee of Adjustment of the Township of Clearview hereby approves minor variance 24A14 pertaining to lands at 5850 Concession 7 Sunnydale on the basis that it meets the 4 tests in accordance with the Planning Act.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. over to the planning staff. Do you have anything on this file to add that we do not already have before us?
Thank you, Chair. No, nothing to add at this moment, but I'm obviously here to answer any questions that may come up.
Excellent. Do we have a representative for this file? Sir, that'd be you? Yeah. All right. Do you have anything to add that we don't already? Oh, you're the neighbor. Ah. And you people in the back, are you the owner? Come on up to the microphone. Oh, okay. If you don't have anything to add, you don't have to. All right. Excellent. And you as the neighbor have concerns? All right, take. Okay. Do you want to let us know what they are? All right. Okay. All right. Is there any questions from committee members to either the planning staff, the owners? Sure. Yeah, go ahead.
Through the chair. I'll call you the complainant. Your concerns are odor?
Now it's pretty much no one wants that. And I have friends that own chicken farms, and I always said to them, I don't know how you deal with that smell, but you're collecting the check, so that makes it worth it. But I'm dealing with everything, and I'm not collecting nothing in my favor or interest to have closer than it needs to be. And I know there are other options on that property for more barns, and I wish they would explore those options maybe before closer to where I live and affecting my.
So you think that us giving a minor lot variance, if we were to do that and change it by a small amount of footage, would make a difference on odor? On the odor or what's going on there?
And I already hear that, but for me, I don't think I that. And I'm looking right at that. I could not picture that second barn any closer to where I want.
Are you to the west?
Yeah.
I'm assuming?
Yeah.
So our map shows 490 feet to your house. With the proposed, yeah. I believe.
Yeah, the map looks deceiving for sure.
Yeah.
That picture, but when you're standing on my barn, it just looks like it's like stretched a little on the map. But that's.
For me, just as just observing, if we were to grant that, I don't see that effect based on a small amount of footage is going to change your perception of what's going on in terms of busyness, the smell, the noise, all those things. Having said that, then what I would ask is of the applicant, if they would speak, is there another option for a location that might help alleviate your neighbor's concerns? Because it's further back. I understand. Just the cost because of the laneway, the length back, all those things. Okay. That's all I have.
My thoughts are if you're doubling the amount of chickens on the farm, it's not gonna, where it goes is not going to, unfortunately, in my opinion, change much.
Even if you satisfied.
Yeah.
setback.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is there any other questions from the from township or from the committee?
I might ask one more thing. Is
Go right
there
ahead.
any opportunity to cooperate in some form of maybe plantings or something like that, like a barrier of cedar trees on a swale or on a berm or something like that? Is that something that could be agreed upon between the two of you to help something like that? Something, I'm not trying to spend your money. I just see in a lot of cases sometimes something for noise, something for visual, something for that in between the two properties might be something that you might want to cooperate on. As a thought, we can make that part of a motion.
We can amend the motion as written, yes.
Yeah, but it's hard to marry a cost to that.
Yeah.
That's the difficulty. So with you both being here, could we see some exchange of cooperation on a berm with some plantings or something like that? Well, it looks like it would have to be to the east of his house, on the east of his laneway and on his property, not on your field, because it looks like you have that in crop. That's the only thing I can see that might help this here. It does show some room here. I don't know exactly the measurements because it's not shown on my map, but that would be my suggestion.
I'm not opposed to people making money, but there's just the point where it affects my livelihood and I make more.
Yeah.
And I'm feeling, the day you get in the car, go, see what's going up. I stay there all day, all night.
And what do you farm?
Me.
Yeah, what is your?
All nights and I'm pigs and chickens, like, just for family and friends.
Right.
Right now, I'm just farming dog and cat.
And what is your land? Is it cash cropped? Is your land cash cropped or do you put in crop? So, okay.
So I figured out.
Okay. Part of the issue farmers are faced is volume. We have to have volume for them to make money. It's not like it was 50 years ago when you could live on a farm and make a living off a farm. And in our official plan, we're prone to supporting agriculture in our community. And it's a huge asset and we want to support that. So I will support this application. However, I would ask both parties to try and cooperate. Maybe they can come up with some sort of situation of a berm or something with some plantings on it that's cost effective for yourself, Mr. Atkinson, and satisfies your neighbor. That's all I have to say.
I will take that as a motion to accept the
If you want a motion
recommendation
from me, I'll
as
give you
read.
the motion.
All in favor of said motion? Carried.
Appreciate the input though. Thank you. Go ahead.
So the motion as written, which is to accept their application to build it, is approved. There's a 20-day appeal period. Which Madam Secretary Danielle here will help anyone with if there was an appeal to be put in. But as far as the committee is concerned, they've approved the building of this barn. Being primarily an agricultural township, and the province's direction not to ruin agricultural lands or turn them away from agricultural lands, then we don't have much choice to support the farmers that we have with their operations. So it is, unfortunately, in this case, where they ask for a minor variance, we look at obviously the rules and regulations of the province. And we're not seeing any reason not to follow their recommendation, is what I'm saying. But there is a 20-day appeal period, and I bet you want to talk to Danielle at the end of this meeting. Not a problem. I would hope, and certainly the committee would hope, that the two of you as neighbors would work something out. And that works out, that's amenable to both parties. But at the end of the day, the committee does not hold any sway over making that happen. Both being landowners and neighbors, it truly is incumbent on the two parties to work something out. Our jurisdiction as a committee of adjustment is somewhat limited to not normalize relationships. That's what I was trying to say. So, all right, screaming right along to our last bit of new business. That ends the public portion, by the way. So if you want to stick around and talk to Danielle at the end of the meeting, we got about 4 more minutes of meeting before we adjourn. And then we're done, but under new business, Madam Secretary.
I have no new business for the committee this time.
All right, and our next meeting is tentatively scheduled for Wednesday, August 14th.
Correct. And we do have 1 minor variance application and 1 consent application to hear.
Are our timelines still the same as they always were? So like close of business today for next month is the cutoff?
So the deadline would have been Friday, July 5th
Okay.
for next month.
All
Yeah.
right, cool. Just, if anyone else have anything to add? None? Motion to adjourn. All in favor? I just happen to be looking that way when I say it.
Yes.
All carried. Meeting is adjourned at 15:28.